Não é tempo técnico, mas é intervalo aqui no podcast. Já imaginou se seu time tivesse um seguro para não perder nunca? Pois é, isso não existe. Mas com a Zurich Seguros, quem não perde nunca é você. Na Zurich Seguros, os planos se adequam às suas necessidades em qualquer momento da sua vida. Seja seguro de auto, residência, vida e muito mais. Diferente de alguns times, na Zurich Seguros você pode confiar. Para saber mais, acesse zurich.com.br ou consulte seu corretor.
This is the Dragon's Lair, in association with Riverside Sports Bar Newport, an American-style bar with a proper Welsh feel.
Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast in association with Riverside Sports Bar. I'm Jamie and joining me as always is Gavin Thomas. How are we doing, Gav?
I'm well, Jamie. I'm well. How was your yesterday? You went to see Sleep Talking yesterday. I'm surprised you not got corpse paint on and kind of elaborate makeup.
They were very, very good, in fairness. They were everything I expected them to be. No crowd interaction whatsoever, though.
No.
They just come on stage, they play their set, and then they fucked off. That's literally what it was. There was no encore, no nothing. Just come on, did their songs, off they went. But it was really, really good. Yeah, thanks for asking. And I believe it's happy birthday to you as well, Gav. Belated happy birthday wishes.
Yes, I was 51 on Friday.
Oh, you're still a young man, Gav.
Yeah,
You're still a young man. You're still a young man.
My knees tell a different story. I was coaching this morning and we were doing this drill off a line out. And I realised I couldn't get the pad out to the end of the line quick enough because the kids were all just quicker than me.
Oh dear. Right, I am pleased to say we are joined by another special guest this week, a scrum-half who made 83 appearances for the Dragons over 5 seasons, then moved to Bath in 2015 before spending 4 seasons with the Scarlets, where he was a Pro 12 winner in 2017. He also played for clubs such as Newport, Bedwas, Crosskeys and Bargoed, and has represented his country at under-18s and under-20s level. He's currently playing for Ebbw Vale RFC. We're delighted to say welcome to the pod, Jon Evans. How are we doing, John?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me on. As I think I spoke to you earlier in the week, I said I do listen to you, so it's quite nice to come on and see it from the other side. So, no, you guys do a great job in talking all things Dragon. So, appreciate you having me on.
Oh, thank you, John. That means a lot to us. You're too kind. Really great to have you on. So we'll start as we always do then with our guests. Tell us about your rugby journey, John. How and where did it all begin for you?
So I started playing rugby, joined Bargoed at sort of under 12s, following my dad's footsteps. My dad played all his career up in Utrediga, was a proper old school player in the fact that he played every position on the field. And he gives great pride in telling me one time he was playing hooker or playing scrum half, and then the hooker went off injured and he went up to the front row to scrummage down at hooker, which the referee stopped the game and said, "Are you sure about this?" But he carried on playing. So he was a proper old school Valleys rugby player. So started playing with Bargoed at under 12s, went up through the age grades to under 16s and got lucky enough to get picked up as an under 16s player, where I was actually an outside half up until the age of under 16s. And then John Williams, who was the academy manager at the time, approached me and said, if you want to make it as a professional rugby player, you need to change to scrum half instead of being an outside half. You'll never make it as a 10. And I made the decision to follow what he said. They invited me into the academy. Actually spent a few years in the academy working with Byron Hayward and Wayne Jones, and was lucky enough to get picked up for the Dragons when I was only 17 years old. Playing for Pontypool in their infamous revival season where they managed to stay up by winning their last, I think it was 4 games in their last 8 they needed to win to stay up. And actually we got Ebbw Vale relegated that season out of there. I think we beat Newport last game of the season to stay up. And Rob Beale and I can't think it was Paul Turner at the time came to watch. Were impressed with what they saw, invited me in for training for the week and gave me my first appearance against the Ospreys at 17 years old. And I think at the time I was the youngest player to play. I've been overtaken, I think, by Harlem and Jack Dixon since.
In the same game. They broke the record in the same game against Wasps. That's right. You were the youngest player ever to represent the Dragons until that game against Wasps. Yeah,
I mean, Jack did it at 16, so I don't think anybody's ever going to beat that record.
crazy, isn't
it? Yeah, I had a good few seasons with the Dragons. Then played quite a lot of rugby. I struggled with a little bit of injuries when I first started with hamstrings and little niggles, but sort of by my third or fourth season, I think was involved in every game of the season and was really enjoying it under the likes of Darren Edwards and Lynn Jones.
Yeah.
And then I think after one of my good seasons, Bath approached me, and it was at the time where Bath were actually going to the final of the English Premiership. And to me, I think I was only 22 at the time. I thought, wow, these English giants are coming in to look at me. This could be my break. I wasn't going to look in any higher than regional rugby. They were looking elsewhere. The national coaches weren't looking at me at all. And I thought I'd give it a chance to go across the border and see what it was all about. And it was an amazing experience. Absolutely loved going over to Bath, made some really good friends, realised the gulf between English and Welsh funding at the time, and what resources they have in the English Premiership. But only when I took the risk and when they're on a 1-year contract. And as I was going through my year with Bath, got offered to come back to the Scarlets. And obviously, with my family all being in Wales, I took the opportunity to come back. And it was an honest conversation with Wayne Pivac. He said, listen, we've got 2 international scrum-halves here. We're looking for a third choice 9. Do you want to come and be competitive and see if you can get into the playing squad?
Yeah.
And I came back and actually probably played a lot more rugby than either of the 2 of them for that season. I think I surprised a lot of people that year. And it was actually the year we won the league, I think. So it was a brilliant decision, a brilliant move for me to come back and to actually be involved in that throughout was brilliant. And to be involved in that final against Munster was even though I was on the bench, it was one of the best experiences I've had.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about that in a bit. But who were your rugby heroes when you were growing up then, John? Were there any players that you modelled your game on and inspired to?
So I actually, when I was growing up, because I was kind of late coming into the rugby, the player that sort of I looked at was Dwayne Peel. I used to love it. He was obviously the Wales 9 at the time I was playing. I used to love the way he played with so much speed and just he's just such a quick player. And I was actually lucky enough while I was at the Dragons to actually play against Dwayne Peel when he was at Sale. I think we went up there in one of the European competitions on a freezing cold Friday night. And I think Kingsley Jones was coaching Sale at the time. And I'm not sure if we beat them, but we definitely put up a really good game against them. And it was definitely a shock result when we played against them. And I managed to play against him. I've never met him since. And obviously he's now taken over down the Scarlets. And he's got a pretty tough job down there at the moment. But it looks like things might be turning corner for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned earlier, back in 2010, you made your Dragons debut against the Ospreys at just 17 years old, a record at the time. What do you remember about your Dragons debut, John? Was you nervous at all?
The funniest bit, there's 2 things I remember. Was the first one was getting on the team bus. So I'd had to finish school early to get down for the team bus. Got on the bus and just sat in any seat that I wanted to. And next thing I know, Ali Brew walks onto the bus and tells me to get out of the seat because that was his traditional seat. And I had to move and I had to move. So it was a bit of a baptism of fire because I'd only been in with the squad for a week. So probably all these people on the bus were thinking, who the hell is this kid that's come in? And I do remember there were 2 instances. I remember running into Jerry Collins. So I tried making a snipe and go, and Jerry Collins absolutely destroying me. Something which I definitely will remember forever. And then obviously probably the only other incident that really happened when I was on the pitch was Tommy Bowe made a line break, last play of the game. And I did manage to sort of tackle him into touch. And there was a nice little comment in the commentary, which my coach at Bargard RFC reminded me of a few times since, Jeremy Rogers. So, I think it was, I think they're probably the standout bits that I remember, but it's such a blur going back. It was such a whirlwind that week. Didn't expect to be playing, got asked to go in and train with them. And then to be told on the Thursday that, you got to finish school early because you're coming down on the bus with us. So it was totally unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. Who did you enjoy playing with, John? Who were the good teammates down at the Dragons?
So there was a few I really got on with. Obviously, you spend more time with the backs than you do with the forwards. So I came through the academy with Lewis Roblin and Matthew Putner. So they were sort of the batch that I came through with. So I got on really well with those guys. Obviously, when Sam Parry was at the Dragons, he lived with Putner and Lewis, so he was sort of another one within the group, that sort of age grade. And another one who was sort of within my sort of from Bargard as well was Stephen Jones. So we used to share lifts into training. So got on really well with him. And I suppose the other one I probably would mention from the Dragons is Andrew Coombs. So me and Andrew used to share lifts all the time. He definitely took me under his wing during his period where he obviously kicked on and became Dragons captain and went on to win a couple of Wales caps. But I still keep in touch with a few of the boys. So Andrew, I still keep in touch with quite regularly. The Jones brothers, Dorian and Reese.
Yeah.
We're quite close to them. Actually, Reese's daughter is in the same class as my daughter. So
that's nice.
It's quite funny. So it's funny how your paths go, but you do still keep in touch with certain people.
Yeah. So you had many highs and lows during your time at Rodney Parade. Any particular standout matches or moments?
I think probably standout moments were scoring at the first Judgment Day against the Scarlets. So I think it was probably my first proper try for the Dragons. And to score at the Millennium Stadium. It was the first time I played at the Millennium Stadium, and it was the first time of a Judgment Day. So there was all this hype around this new event and everything, and it was a brilliant idea at the start, and there was great hype about it, and I can just remember breaking through and scoring on that one. And then I suppose the other two games that really stand out in my time with the Dragons were Cardiff in Europe in the quarterfinal of the European Cup at home.
Which is the last time that we've beaten Cardiff.
Oh, was it really?
2015, that was the last time in all competitions that we've beaten Cardiff, yeah. So you played in that game?
I played in that game. That was
So you could say you beat Cardiff playing for the Dragons. Not many players can say that. Not many Dragons players get the luxury.
No one for a decade, at least.
The funny thing is, when they put up the highlights of the last time the Dragons beat the Blues in the league, I was starting in that game as well. So
well done.
It's strange when you say it's been almost 10 years since the Dragons have beaten the Blues in the league. It was never a game that we feared.
What are you doing Boxing Day, John? Because you're clearly a good luck charm. So, if you could make sure you're available for selection Boxing Day.
Pass on my number, please. I'll definitely hand off to go back and play in that game.
To be fair, though, John, you are right. I mean, it's strange, isn't it, this who do the Cardiff Havovers? Because you said it was never a team that you feared. Why do you think it is now the Dragons just keep losing? Do you think it's a mental thing? Is that something that you've experienced, being in a team that's got a losing streak against your opponents, a long losing streak? It must be playing on the player's mind, but they're not, or?
Yeah, it's interesting. When we were watching the Wales internationals through the autumn, Dan Bigger spoke about it, the fact that when you're winning, you get into a winning mentality, and if you're winning, it's almost like nobody can beat you. And teams that win, even if they play ugly, they grind out a win because in their head they're like, we can't lose. And I feel like the Dragons have got into that mentality of we can't win.
Yeah.
What's the other side of it? And like you look at the games that have gone on this year, how many of those games were there for the taking for the Dragons? And mentally, if in your head you were saying we can't lose, we're going to win this, we've got the ability to win this, rather than thinking, oh my god, we can't afford to lose this. It's it is a really strange thing. And they talk about momentum in sport and sports psychology. I remember when I went to Bath, they actually had a full-time sports psychologist working with us at Bath.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how big of an impact it can actually have on results and the way you play.
That's interesting. Maybe that's what the Dragons need then. Maybe they do need a full-time psychologist, someone to just, speak to the players. And
some coaches would be useful first, I think, if I'm honest. But yeah.
Well, yes, I agree. But a lot of sport is psychological, mind, Gav, as well. A lot of it is mental, and I think with our lot, a lot of it is mental. I think we've got good talent in the squad, good crop of youngsters, but I do think a lot of it is mental, psychological.
I totally agree. I don't think we know how to win anymore.
No, we don't. Okay, so Judgment Day. I remember that game because that was the dummy, wasn't it? That you scored from the base of it. It was great. That was you skinned Foxy as well. It was a really good moment. I remember that.
Yeah, I've watched that one back a few times.
I bet you have. Yeah, it's on YouTube as well if you want to watch it back. It's It's great.
I found it, don't worry.
Save to your favourites to your playlist.
Yeah.
Any other moments, John? Any other matches that stand out for you as being part of
The
Dragons?
other one which really stood out to me, I think, was when we did the double over Leinster in the one season. And I think it was the first time Leinster had lost at home in maybe 3 years or something. And we went out there, and Jason Tovey was playing outside half at the time and had one of the best games I've ever seen outside half. He kicked the corners. Everything we did, we ended on a positive. We were totally unexpected to win out there. And I remember us doing that. And then obviously Leinster coming back on the return fixture. And I think we went behind by 2 scores really early on in the game. And somehow we turned around. I think James Benjamin scored 2 tries late on. And it was just an unbelievable fight back. That's probably another one that sort of stands out for me. And then I suppose another one which I suppose was quite an interesting one was, and I don't think I actually came off the bench in this one. I think I spent the entire time on the bench, was when we beat Stade Francais away from home in Europe.
Yeah, I remember that. Great result. That was really good one.
I remember Richie Rees scoring a try, having a great game.
Yeah.
Lee Byrne was hitting spirals 70, 80 meters downfield because we were playing with the old Adidas style balls. And I think that's probably one of the best performances I've seen as a Dragons team has put together. And and to go to that stadium again with no expectations, not expected to win. They are probably the games that I can remember quite well.
Yeah. So overall, then, John, you look back on your time at Dragons quite fondly, I presume.
I loved my time at the Dragons. I mean, I felt like the frustrating thing is I felt like we were competitive. I felt like we were a team that would win at home. People used to fear us, and it's interesting when I went to the Scarlets and you used to speak to the older players. When I say older players, the players who've probably been
senior
around.
players,
like your Aaron Shingler, who you'd have your youngsters coming through who would say, "Oh, the Dragons, the game when we had to play the Dragons on the weekend, oh, they're nothing, or sort of that sort of mentality."
Yeah.
And Aaron Shingler turned around to them and say, "Oh, well, you haven't played them at Rodney Parade." And he used to say that the pack at the Dragons used to be the worst pack to play against. Rodney Parade used to be the hardest stadium to go to. And he used to say that it was just it used to be the fixture that they used to least look forward to. And when you think about it, and obviously this is very unique to the Scarlets, every season you've played the Scarlets, it's been Judgment Day. You haven't taken the Scarlets to Rodney Parade once and for a long time.
No.
So it's just interesting how maybe those players haven't experienced that environment, because it is with the crowd being so close to the field, it is a hostile environment for any team coming there, which is great for the home supporter, for the home team. I used to love the atmosphere at Rodney Parade. And you talk about things you used to remember. I can always remember when the Argus stand used to be there and doing the lap at the start of the game, running along the Argus terracing, and the sound that used to be in from that terracing. It was great. I always remember that.
John, you're talking about hostile atmospheres, and you've played for a lot of Valleys clubs and right across the Valleys. Where's the toughest place to go and play in the Valleys?
Toughest place to go and play in the Valleys. Okay. Are we talking Dowless Top on a 24th of December?
Well, I think I haven't played it myself. I agree that's a good answer. Or Trevel as well, if you've ever played the Trevel. But in terms of playing in kind of Welsh Premiership, that kind of level.
Probably the place where I've experienced the most hostility. There's 2 grounds probably. House of Pain, Pontypridd.
Yeah.
That was always fun. You'd always get the shed having a good laugh with you on the field, I suppose, and your fair share of abuse coming from them. But the one that I quite enjoyed was that probably was more personal to me was Bedwas, only because I played for Bedwas the season before, and obviously the Dragons had decided that when I wasn't playing, I had to move to a different club, and I think they moved me to Newport the following season. And the amount of abuse I got from everybody on the changing teams. So I think that was a bit more of a personal one, because obviously I changed allegiances because of being told to, rather than moving clubs because I wanted to.
Yeah. Just to pick up what you say there with the Scarlets, we did play with Rodney Parade in 2019 and we won. I don't remember, it was the Sam Davis drop goal right in the dying seconds. And we did play last season on New Year's Day, and we beat them then by only a point.
At Rodney Parade?
At Rodney Parade, yeah, we beat them. It was after we got hammered by Cardiff. on the Boxing Day. It was our next game. And Sam Costello, Wales fly-off, missed a kick straight in front of the post.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
And the
was a
weather was,
terrible kick.
it was, and the weather was absolutely howling. It was horrible, wind and rain. But yeah, we have played Scarlets a couple of times. But yeah, you are right. We do play them a lot at
Yeah.
Judgment Day. I think we're going to play them at Judgment Day again.
Well, I think the four seasons I was with the Scarlets, every Judgment Day was.
Yeah.
I think it was the Scarlets and the Dragons. So
yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, we do play them a lot at Judgment Day. So okay, so in 2015, then you leave the Dragons and you sign for Bath in the English Premiership. You spend one season, you signed a 1-year deal, and you did find opportunities quite limited, didn't you? Because you had Nico Matawalu in front of you, didn't you, as well? You had quite a few scrum-halves in front of you.
Yeah.
But looking back, you don't have any regrets about the move to Bath. You said you enjoyed your time there.
It was brilliant. It was a really good learning curve. I think I was the fittest I've ever been. I think I became the best rugby player I could have become there. The amount of resource, the amount of effort, the amount of time they put into me. I think I went there and I was a little bit naive as to how much rugby I would get as a 22-year-old going into the English Premiership, having played every game the season before for the Dragons. I thought I was going to go there and walk into the squad at Bath. Looking back, without the English Premiership is, if you don't have an international cap, you're not likely going to be a starter. And they signed me at the same time they signed Nico Matawalu, who was at the time tearing teams apart up in Glasgow at scrum-half. And they wanted to give him a go. I did manage to get about 5 or 6 first-team appearances that season. And at the time, I was really frustrated and I felt like I was not given the chance I deserved and all this. But when I look back at it, to actually get 5 or 6 games in my first season was actually pretty good for a 22-year-old coming into a new league with that standard. And when you see the standard of players that were around me, for an uncapped youngster who really wasn't that well known on a rugby scene, I actually had quite a lot of exposure. And I was actually made to be the A-team captain. And Darren Edwards was the coach that sort of drew me up to Bath. So Darren was obviously at the Dragons and moved to Bath. Yeah. He was the one who spoke to me and said, "Listen, John, come up here. I really think we can develop you into something. I think this will be a really good move for you." And he did, and he spent a lot of time working with me. They spent a lot of time working on my ability, my kicking, my passing. Every day there was one-to-one sessions going on. Although maybe it wasn't the best in terms of me playing, I think what I did there, the result, the 4 years following at the Scarlets, was all because of what I did in that year with Bath.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. When you played in the opportunities you did get when you played in the English Premiership, did you notice a big change in terms of the physicality and the skill set of the players you were coming up against compared to what would have been then the Rabo Direct or the Pro 12 when you was playing for Dragons? Or the Magnus? I can't remember. I think it might have been Pro 12 or Rabo. I can't remember. It's changed leagues so many times, isn't it? It's rebranded. But did you notice any difference with the players you come against in terms of the league and the skill sets?
I don't think the intensity was anymore. I don't think the physicality was anymore. I think there was a lot more in each game though. So
yeah,
and especially when every game was a sellout. So Bath, when I was there, Bath could have sold their stadium out in season tickets.
Yeah.
So getting a ticket was like gold dust, and it meant a lot to that town. And when you're playing in front of full capacity stadiums week in, week out, when there's the pressure of relegation as well, I feel like the pressure on each game and they're less likely to make changes.
Yeah,
because there's that much more pressure on winning and getting results. But would I say the physicality and intensity was any more? No, I wouldn't say it was any more. Would I say that there were more superstars in the league? Probably, yeah, because it is obviously it's got financial backing and the names in that league. But I wouldn't say it's any. I mean, you see how the European games go when you look at the Leinsters and the Munsters and even the Bulls now, the South African teams. They're doing brilliantly in Europe, so I wouldn't say the intensity was any different to what our league is.
No, that's fair enough. I was going to ask. Oh, go on, Gav. Sorry. No, go on, Gav.
I was just going to say, did Bath feel a bit like being in Wales because of all the rugby towns in England? It's the one that always strikes me as being the most like a Welsh kind of set because rugby's the biggest show in the town, like whereas if you go to Sale or if you go to Newcastle or whatever, there's a million other things going on, isn't there?
Bath was brilliant because when it was a match day, you knew it was a match day. Everybody in the town was going over to there or was dressed in their blue, black, and white. It was a really good atmosphere, and the other thing the Bath were very good at was engaging with the community. So there was so many events on, there was much opportunity, so much engagement with the fans. They were really, really good because obviously their ground is in the heart of the city.
Yeah.
All the businesses wanted to be involved in it. Everybody wanted to have a little bit of involvement with Bath rugby, and Bath played on that a lot, and it was a really good experience. I'm glad I went to Bath, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I was just going to ask you, what do you make of the URC then as a league compared to the English Premiership? You know, there's all these rumours about Anglo-Welsh. That's what the fans crave, isn't it? A lot of people want to see those, Dragons, Bristol games, and
I have
Scarlets,
you
Bath.
the Anglo Welsh. I know you're gunning for it.
Well, as someone who listens to the pod, as you do, John, you'll know this is a conversation we've spoken about many, many times. No, honestly, well, what do you think of the URC and the whole Anglo-Welsh thing then?
I used to enjoy the Anglo Welsh competition, especially as a chance for youngsters to play. I mean, that's where I got a lot of my breaks when I was early, a lot of exposure. I think the Anglo Welsh was good in the sense that everybody kind of agreed that the youngsters got an opportunity to play.
Yeah.
And you play your development teams, but I feel like the squads now are not big enough to have development teams as they used to. You speak to some of the teams now, and they're barely able to field 2-packs in training against each other to do live scrums, live lineouts. And that's why a lot of the regions were trying to train against each other to try and do live training in sessions. So teams can't afford to risk these extra games with players. But I like the idea of the Anglo Welsh, but hasn't that been taken off the table now? And they said this definitely not.
Yeah,
it was never on the table, if we're brutally honest. It was a thing that some people would like, but we've got nothing to offer the English clubs.
Yeah,
which is the issue.
what I think is good about our league is obviously the travel. As a rugby player, it's amazing to go see these different countries, different places, and go and play in all these different areas. It is extremely hard as a fan, though, to follow your team. My dad followed me for the 5 years I was with the Dragons. I don't think he missed the game, so he travelled around every weekend. But he was fortunate in the fact that he was able to sort of get on those flights and get to those places. I think he said the only place he didn't manage to see me play was Ulster, which is a bit of a shame because I know Ulster is such a good atmosphere. I actually really enjoyed playing there. But it's really hard and really expensive for fans to travel and follow your team. And I just think it takes a bit away from the atmosphere a little bit, because rugby is all about almost the fun you have between the home and away fans. The best games that I've been to are where you sit in and amongst the opposition fans and you have that bit of fun between them throughout the game. And I think with our league at the moment, you slightly miss that because there's not that many travelling fans.
No, and that's what I've always said. I think it's a shame. Like for the derby games, obviously it's different. And to be fair, for the Irish teams, they are good bunch of travelling fans. Because a lot of them just live in London, don't they? With the South African fans as well, they just travel down. But yeah, it would be nice to have more away fans because they do make a difference, don't they, to the atmosphere and to the occasion. But I mean, if you're playing for the Dragons now, you'd have to get a flight to Johannesburg to go and see you play, and Pretoria and all this place. It's changed a lot, isn't it, the league since you last played in, John? It's changed a hell of a lot. It really has.
And I remember there were rumours that an American team was going to join at one point, which again would have just opened it up again for more travel, but I don't think the time difference would have worked with that one.
Oh, I've heard all sorts of American, Spanish, Georgian,
German.
Yeah, German. It's just crazy. We saw what happened with Super Rugby when they expanded it, didn't we? More and more, when they let in the Japanese team and the Argentine. It's just the more expanded, it just got convoluted and just crazy and confusing.
It doesn't work. It's like the rugby league had that Canadian side in it, and they were funding everyone's flights to Toronto or wherever they were based. But in the end, they went bankrupt because there isn't the audiences in these kind of faraway places. At least when you're playing Irish, South African clubs, these are established rugby playing nations.
Yeah, absolutely. I still stand by my point, though. The URC is a better league than like the English Premiership, in my opinion. Better standard of rugby, world-class players, but it does get a lot of stick in Wales. There's a lot of apathy towards the league. People just don't buy into it, do they? Unfortunately,
The top 8 teams in the URC are better than the top 8 teams in the Premiership.
I agree. I agree with that.
Saracens are good. Northampton are good, but we've got Munster and Leicester and Leinster and Bulls in that top 8. Well, they're a damn sight bloody better than Gloucester.
Indeed, yeah. Okay, so John, you leave Bath, and then you come back to Wales to sign for Wayne Pivac Scarlets.
Yeah.
And you have a very successful time there. You played in 2 league finals, including that memorable 2017 victory over Munster at the Aviva Stadium, which you mentioned earlier. You win the Pro 12 final. You came off the bench after 52 minutes to replace Garth Davis. So I've got a lot of Scarlets mates, and I've told them you're coming on the pod this week, and they're going to listen to it. You're very popular with a lot of Scarlets supporters, John. They liked you a lot, and they were very disappointed when you left. So, yeah, you more than played your part in that final. Tell me about that day, John, because that must have been really special. Because I remember, I mean, it's not very often I'll cheer on the Scarlets. Let me be honest about that now. But that was a really important victory, I think, for Welsh rugby. It was a really fantastic occasion there. So, what are your memories of that famous day in the Dublin?
Yeah, I think it came from about 3 weeks before that final night. We had a really tough run into the end of the season. We had Connacht away, and we had to win. Then we had one of the South African teams at home, so obviously in the quarterfinal. And then we knew if we got through that far, we were going to have Leinster away in the semi-final.
Yeah.
And when we played Connacht away, which could have been a trip in a stumbling block for us, we played some of the best rugby we've ever seen, and we were amazing. We absolutely blew Connacht away, and from that point on, like we spoke earlier about having a losing mentality.
Yeah.
Every meeting, every interaction in the changing rooms throughout the week, we just knew we were going to win. And when we went to Leinster and beat Leinster away, I don't think there was anything that was going to stop us from winning in that final. It didn't matter who was going to be up against us. It could have been a national team. We probably would have won it. And when you look back, the squad that we had that season, it was unbelievable. You just had superstars in every single position.
You did. You absolutely did. You had Liam Williams, you had John Fox, you had Rhys Patchell, Hadley Parks, Tag Byrne, John Barkley. It was a very, very good Scarlets team.
There was a sense of inevitability. I think you're absolutely right, John. I think once you won that semi-final, it was inevitable. Again, like Jamie, I'm not often cheering on Scarlets, but kind of pleased you won that because it felt right.
It did.
And everything just clicked. Everything was working. We went in there with a counter-attacking mentality, and from the first get-go, every time they kicked the ball to us, we counter-attacked, and out wide, they couldn't live with us. You had Jonathan Davis, Steph Evans, and Cubby out in the wide channels, causing absolute havoc. And I think there was 3 or 4 tries in the first half, and we came in at halftime, and the message was, boys, we've pretty much won this. Just keep doing what you're doing. And it was great. It was probably the most nervous I've ever been at a game.
Yeah.
And it was probably the most enjoyable game I've ever sat on a bench and watched. But it was also a bit of a sour grapes because it was the weekend of my stag.
Yes, did you miss your own stag do for this game, didn't you? Tell us about that.
I obviously had my best man wanted to plan the stag, obviously trying to book it in the off season. Looked at our regular season fixtures were finishing, and I worked out that obviously if we qualified, there'd be a semi-final and a final afterwards. Forgot there would be a European weekend in between.
Right, okay.
So obviously there was a league semi-final, a European semi-final, then the league final. So obviously he booked it for the week after, giving me time to sort of enjoy myself, get back, whatever. But it fell that the final was on the weekend that he booked. So he wasn't particularly happy. When we won the semi-final, I went to the changing rooms with messages from him. Don't speak to me ever again. Can't believe you're not coming on your stag. And all this sort of things. But they managed to, after we won the final, they booked me on a 6 o'clock in the morning flight from Dublin to go and join them. So basically after winning the final, we went out and celebrated, and I left the nightclub, got in a taxi with my passport, straight from the nightclub, straight to the plane, the airport. I don't know how I got through security on my own. I don't know how I found the gate, but I managed to get on the plane, slept the entire journey, and managed to get in there. So it's all a bit
Where
of
was your stag, John?
Budapest.
Budapest.
Mhm.
Solid place for a stag.
Yeah, it was brilliant, but I didn't, other than sleeping for probably 6 hours on the flight, I didn't sleep for probably 3 days. So yeah, it was great though. But going back to the rugby, it was I just don't know what happened in that final. Everything clicked, and it was
It
like
did. Yeah.
everything we tried worked. Every time we tried throwing the ball out wide, and I think we honestly just blew Munster away with how we played.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. What was Wayne Pivac like to work with, John?
I enjoyed working with Pivak. He didn't do a huge amount of coaching, so I've heard you speaking on the podcast about the fact you don't rate his coaching. He wasn't.
No, that wasn't me. That was Gavin, actually, I should say.
No, absolutely. I am not a fan. And at the start, when he took over the job, I said he strikes me as somebody who microwaves tea, and I stand by that.
Waste tea.
What Pivak was good at was Pivak was a man manager, so
Yeah.
he was very good at delegating to the coaches about what they were doing. And the one thing which I appreciated with Pivak was he was really honest with you. If you were out of line in training, he'd call you into the meeting room and tell you there and then, listen.
Yeah.
And he'd go through with you and he'd say, what do you think you did here? Don't think this is right. Okay, make it right. And he'd be honest with you up front. If you weren't selected, he'd call you into a room and say, listen, we've selected you for X, Y, and Z, or we haven't selected you for X, Y, and Z. I remember after the 2017 season, I wasn't selected to go into the Wales squad, even though I'd played the majority of the games. And Pivot called me in, and he was deadly honest with me. He said, listen, we fully expected you to go, but you can't let your head drop now. You need to work harder.
Yeah.
We'll help you. We'll push you forward. And I really appreciated his honesty with me by the time I was there. And he had to keep 3 nines who were obviously competing with each other happy throughout the season.
Mm.
And there may have been a couple of times where I thought I should have been playing, and he picked Alid over me or picked Gareth to start, and every time he did, he always had a conversation with, well, certainly with me. I don't know how he dealt with other people, but he certainly always had a conversation with me, and I always felt like I knew the reason why he was doing it.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it? Because at least you know where you stand. You often hear players saying that, they don't communicate with the coach and they don't know where they are, in the team. But Pivac was always honest and always straight with you. You knew exactly where you stood, didn't you?
The one thing that Pivot did enjoy is he enjoyed a character. He enjoyed a laugh.
Yeah.
So he enjoyed Cubby.
Of course he would, yeah.
Brilliant character. And he enjoyed people with that sort of character of basically they'd run through a brick wall for you, and they'd have a laugh and a joke, but when it came down to it, stepping over the white line, they were deadly serious and got the job done.
Yeah. I wonder what Pivac's thinking now when he's stuck in Wales. I wonder I'd love to get a penny for his thoughts because he got sacked for far less than what Gatland does now. Well, what do you think of it, John?
I think knowing what Pivac's probably like, it probably doesn't bother him at all. I wouldn't think it would cross his mind again. He's probably looking at it and going, I did everything I could. It's interesting that he's pulled Patchell and Jake Ball out to his team in Japan. So that's quite interesting. He's got a couple of the Welsh players out there with him. So obviously he's trying to build something around them again. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets Hadley Parks there because he used to get on really well with Hadley Parks.
I think the amount of money he's earning in Japan probably, kind of helps him to get over the disappointment with Wales as well.
Oh, it probably does. I just wonder if he's having a chuckle to himself now. I wonder if he's having a glass of wine and he's seeing what's happening with Wales and Welsh rugby and have a bit of a chuckle. Because like I said, he got sacked for far less.
He's definitely having a glass of wine.
Yeah.
I don't think he was a great coach, but the situation Wales is in isn't his fault either. No.
I got a feeling you could see it coming. Our golden period. There was an aging team, and I'd like to know sort of how many players were actually trialed coming through in that period of the golden with the 3 Grand Slams and things like that. There wasn't a huge amount of talent being brought through in the international scene, I don't think.
What amazes me is, right, we've had this happen before. We were world beaters in the 70s, and then that generation ended, and it was like, oh, we haven't actually blooded any players. What's going to happen? So we've done it, and instead of going, right, remember what happened last time when we had no idea what we're doing, we're going to make sure we are going to start building No, they don't build a legacy. You know, they play Jamie Roberts and Fox and all these players until they're creaking. And then, oh, look, who have we got to come through?
Well, have you seen the announcement recently about the 60 young players they're identifying at the moment?
Yes.
That's good news, though, John, isn't it? What do you think of that?
I think that's positive, but that's a 4 to 5 year fix because none of those players are going to be ready for the next 4 to 5 years. Or if they do, the players they bring into international scenes too early, generally, they don't have long careers. I mean, George North is a complete and utter exception to that. They brought him into the international scene really early and he had a 10, 11, maybe 12-year career of playing international rugby. But you look at all the other players that went into international rugby too early and how many of them are actually still playing.
Tyler Morgan, Hallam Amos, you know, these are all examples in my head. Who was the other winger as well? Who was ridiculously young and then disappeared.
Tom Pridey.
Pridey,
used to play for. It was good for the Dragons when he wasn't injured. In fairness.
Oh, they're great players, absolute players. But I don't know if getting into that international scene too early hampered what they were able to do and hampered the development. So I think this is great, but I think this is a 4 to 5 year plan. So what's going to happen in the 4 to 5 year plan? Are they going to identify 60, 25-year-olds to 28-year-olds that are going to keep us going for the next 6 years? Or are they just going to say that's the national team? It'd be interesting to see what they do. But like you say, at least they are putting something in place to try and blood new people coming through.
Okay, fair enough. I was asked by my Scarlet mate, Paul, he said, can you ask John, why did he end up leaving the Scarlets? Because he's one of the best scrum-halves we had. He was a big fan of yours. So tell us about that then, John, and your departure from the Scarlets, and then what happened from there on in.
I was just a series of I was just really unlucky with the timing. So I had a pretty significant injury in my second season in the final. I did a Liz Frank in my foot, which took me out of action for 9 months. Sidelined me for 9 months. Obviously, while I was sidelined, Alid left, so they had to go and find some new scrum halves. They brought in, what was his name? Sam from Edinburgh. Went to Exeter after the Scarlets.
Sam Hidalgo Klein, is it?
Yes, that's
it.
Yeah.
Sam Hidalgo Klein. So they brought him in, and obviously they brought Kieran Hardy in from Jersey. And obviously Kieran came in and stepped up and took his opportunities and played really well. When I had my Liz Frank, I had 9 months on the sideline. I came back, got back to full fitness after 9 months, and in my first game back for the Scarlets, I did another injury on my ankle. It was completely... I came on as a blood sub for Kieran Hardy, made a line break, and just somebody landed on my ankle and basically on the same side did a syndesmosis, which put me out of action for another 4 to 5 months. So I had another operation. So I basically had a full season out. So in my third season with the Scarlets, I played no rugby at all and was hardly ever fit. And then obviously Wayne Pivot got the Welsh job, and they brought in Brad Moore. Well, you've got a new coach coming in who's got this scrum half on his books, who's supposedly supposed to be sort of back up to Gareth Davis, who's played no rugby for a year. He's got no exposure to seeing what I'm able to do. And obviously he's seen what Kieran Hardy's done the year before, and he selected Kieran Hardy over me, which was fair enough. I did everything I could. I went and played for Carmarthen week in, week out to try and prove I was good enough. I mean, Carmarthen were towards the top of the league. I was scoring tries week in, week out, doing everything I could to try and play. I finally got my break after Christmas, and I played against Munster away and actually was really happy with the way I played. Came back in to do the review of the game, and it was announced that the league was shutting down for COVID.
Post-COVID.
We got told, go home. We'll see you in 2 weeks once this is all blown over. But at the moment, there's nothing you can do. We can't stay in training. So they sent us home. And obviously the league never started up again. Everyone's recruitment stopped. Mine was out of contract at the end of the season. And who's going to sign a player who hasn't played any rugby for 2 years? And I had 2 opportunities to go. I had one opportunity to go to America, but it wasn't right for me and my family at the time. And I had one opportunity to go to France, which I was on the brink of signing a contract with them. And it all fell through last minute because of a takeover got stopped.
Oh, was that Bezier? Was that the Bezier? Oh, that was interesting. That was when they were being linked to all these world-class internationals, all these All Blacks. I think Courtney Laws was due to sign, and all these other players. Yeah, so you was going to sign for them.
I
Oh,
was
wow.
part of it, involved in
Yeah.
something within that, and obviously the takeover didn't happen. I didn't get that contract, and nobody else was recruiting at the time. So I was absolutely gutted. I mean, I feel like I can still do it. Yeah, I feel like I still play that level. But I had to make the choice, and I stepped away from it and had to find a job in the end because there was just no recruitment at the time.
Yeah, that must have been really difficult for you, though, John, isn't it? You know, because rugby's in your blood. You want to find a new club, and like you said, you still feel you could do a job at pro level.
I still think I'm better than half the pros in the so. I mean, I may be 32 and getting on a bit, and I'm a bit fatter, but give me 6 weeks, I reckon I can still get up to that level.
Wiser. It's not fat, mate. It's wise. It's wisdom. I always describe myself as the wisest bloke in our club.
That's what I tell myself when I'm playing for Ebbw Vale. you lot can all work hard, but I bet you I'll get there before you because I know the shortcut.
First 5 yards is in your head.
I'd love to see you in the Dragons jersey again, John. So you still think you could do it? So if Dragons had a injury crisis as scrum half, and they called you up and say, John, we need you to start against Leinster at home or one of the South African days, you still think you could?
I would snap the hand off and I would do everything I could. I actually messaged, obviously, I know Di from his time down the Scarlets.
Yeah.
I did actually message Di a couple of times when I knew they had injuries at scrum half.
Oh, fair play.
To say, listen, bring me down, give me a trial.
Good on you.
I want to come back, and unfortunately, it never went into anything, unfortunately.
Oh, it's a shame. That's a real shame. Fans would love to see you back at Rodney Parade. That's a real shame, that is.
But you're doing well at the Eugene Cross Park at the minute. Kind of part of a winning side, and I have been for a while now. It's what's that like? Clearly playing for the best club in Gwent, but
you're not biased at all, Gav.
No, not at all.
He's in his element now, John. It's all Ebbw Vale chat. He's gonna love this now.
It was brilliant. Like, obviously, when I stepped down to semi-pro level, I did have a couple of clubs contact me, but I went up to Ebbw Vale because I had a couple of mates who were playing up there. I thought, if I'm gonna play at semi-pro level, I want to enjoy where I'm playing. I think it was Rhys Jones was playing up there at the time, so I thought I want to go back and play with some mates as well and have some fun.
Yeah.
But I've actually kind of fallen in love with the club a little bit. I think they're a really good family club. They've really looked after me and my family. I love that after the game, they take my 2 daughters into the clubhouse and let them run loose, and the people behind the bar really look after them. They cook them food if they want them to.
That's nice. That's a nice community club, isn't it? That's good.
Really sort of adopted. And the one thing with Ebbw Vale that I think maybe I obviously I can't comment on all the other clubs, but the amount of helpers they've got, people who give up their time, volunteers there, kit men, the guys who are willing to come in and just set out all the kit and all the pads. Like, every training session, I think we've got 4 or 5 people who don't get paid. They just turn up and help out. And then you've probably got about another 4 or 5 of them in the club who cook us food after training, just because it's Ebbw Vale.
It's a big bit to the community, it's a town of 14,000 people. It's got 4 rugby clubs, including a semi-pro club.
Yeah. And I'm really enjoying it there. Do I find the rugby hard? No, I don't. I don't find it hard at all. I find it quite easy, if I'm honest. When I joined,
humble brag there, John.
when I joined them about 2.5 years ago, they were on an 11-game losing streak, bottom of the league. And in last season, we managed to finish 3rd and lost in the semi-final to Newport. So and this season we're in 2nd place, chasing down Cardiff for top spot. So we've turned it around really, really quickly, and I think it's because we've got a couple of key people in key positions. We've got Evan Lloyd, obviously ex-Dragon player, playing outside half. We've got Ethan Phillips, who at 13, he's obviously injured at the moment, but just a really, really good player. He's probably too good for semi-pro level, but he's doing a really good job at this level. He never wanted to step up, but he probably could if he wanted to.
It's not pretty, is it, the rugby you guys are playing, but it's really effective of what I've seen the last couple of seasons. I don't get up there anywhere near as much as I'd like to, but it's fairly direct, but it's working, isn't it?
Yeah, Jason's basically employed the tactic of, we're just going to become the hardest people to play against. Our game is built on defense, we try and concede the least amount of points that we can, and when we enter the 22, we make sure we score points. That is the simple entry of it. And I feel like maybe if a couple of professional teams did that and said when we enter the 22, we come away with points, you'd be surprised how much of a difference it does actually make.
And I think it's important for the town because that it's been up and down a bit. That kind of I remember being there when we beat Toulouse, kind of in '98. It was a fantastic day. It's important. It's an important part of the town. It's and the fact we've got a win inside at the minute is really kind of really important. And the last couple of times I've been up, because for years all I saw was bloody Ospreys tops, which drive me bloody mental. But the last couple of times I've been up there and out in the pubs, you see people in Ebbw Vale tops, and I think that's what you should be seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know that there are more Ospreys supporters in Gwent than the Dragons. We've done this joke, haven't we, about the blind of Gwent Massive coming down to Rodney Parade. Harry Rees-Weldon is at Ebbw Vale, of course, Dragons winger. He scored 4 tries in 2 games when he played for the Dragons development team. What's he like? John, could you tell us a little bit about him? He's Tip future.
Is it the specimen?
Yeah.
He's a big unit for a winger, and he's got a bit to learn, if I'm honest, but he's really eager to learn and he's really eager to play. All he wants to do week in, week out is just play. And I think that he moved recently from centre to winger, so he's still learning what a winger is. But he's when he gets the ball in his hands, he makes things happen. I think he could push on. He could become competitive. Maybe not this season, but maybe in a year or two. I reckon he could, if he keeps working hard where he is, and if he keeps playing the way he's playing. I reckon you may see him put on a Dragons jersey in a league game, maybe in a year's time.
And what's the standard of the SRC like? Is it comparable to the Prem, or is it better as it's meant to be?
As in comparable to the Prem from last year, is it?
Yeah.
If I'm honest, it's fairly similar. Yeah. I don't really know what the difference is. It's the same teams, it's the same squads. Nobody's really changed who they have. A couple of players have moved around. There's been a couple of pitch improvements. So obviously Llandovery have now got an artificial pitch, which has helped because that was one of the heaviest pitches in the league. RGC have now got an artificial pitch as well. So they are trying to speed up the game with the surfaces. The referees are also trying to be more transparent. So we do get feedback every week from referees on what they're targeting, what they're looking for, the fact that they're trying to speed up the game as well, which I think only benefits us as players, because if the referees are telling us what they're seeing, we can understand what we're doing, and also we can bend the rules as well. So
yes.
Fair enough. Okay, let's talk about the Dragons then, because I know you still watch them, John. You have been keeping a close eye on what's been happening. Yeah, it's been tough, as it always is. It's never one of those seasons again. Played 7, won just 1 game. We're rock bottom of the league. Cheers Ospreys for losing to Zebra, by the way. That really helped us. No, I'm not going to blame them. They had a lot of injuries, to be fair. And Zebra's a tough place to go.
Let's blame them.
Well, we know you're an Ospreys hater, Gav. That's the difference here. So I'm trying to be more diplomatic about it. They have got a lot of injuries.
I'm not Ospreys hater. I just find them irritating as a club.
Oh, they're not as irritating as Cardiff, though, surely.
Oh, Ospreys fans are quite determined in their views, aren't they?
I'd say Cardiff are worse, both fan base and club. But anyway, let's just move on. Let's move on. So John, what have you made of the Dragons this season? Obviously, you said you worked with Dave Flanagan there at the Scarlets. Was you surprised that they parted company with Dave Flanagan?
Was I surprised they parted company? No. Was I surprised when they did it? Yes, if I'm honest. I thought it would have been at the end of the year, because again, I've heard you speaking about it. It's a results-based business. But the other thing which I heard you speaking about was, what is the plan?
That's Gavin. That's Gavin's big thing. Gav, what's the plan?
I do kind of agree with you saying that, because it's great to sack somebody, but as you said, what is the next step? And I think obviously the coach has taken over. He's coming in the summer. It'll be interesting to see how he does and what he does over the next few weeks. I've spoken to obviously Harry to see what's going on in training. So there's been a few changes. There's obviously it's a lot stricter in training. He said it's not there's not as much jokiness. It's more serious, because I think they all realise that the position they're in now, and as players, you've got to take a bit of responsibility, because at the end of the day, you've lost the game. You've cost somebody their job. The players haven't lost their job. The coach has lost his job because of the performances you've put in. So it is a pretty tough environment to be in. But the players don't go out to lose games. At the end of the day,
no, they don't. No.
You never want to lose a game. But like I said, maybe it's a little bit of psychology. Maybe it's a little bit of tactics, because I felt like sometimes the Dragons could have closed out games, and they haven't.
No, you're right. I mean, look at Sharks and Lions. Those were two very winnable games, so we blew it. And had we won those games, Dai would still be in the job. He was told he had to win 3 games in the first block. That's what I had on good and faulty, but it's narrow margins, isn't it?
So, John, you're a scrum half, so you know what's going on generally, and can you see what the backs are doing for Dragons? Because I'm a forward, I most of my time is happening behind me, so I don't know what's going on, but I can't really work out what the backs are doing. I can't see the structure there. Can you see a structure?
I think the Dragons' biggest weakness is the 10 at the moment. I don't think they know who their starting 10 is and what style they want to play. I think Rodri and Dane are doing really good jobs at 9. And obviously Morgan Lloyd yesterday came on and
excellent.
I think
he was really good.
Highlights. He was really good. I know Morgan really well because obviously he's Evans' brother.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any issues at 9. I think the problem is they've for the last few years they haven't had a consistent 10. And this year they still jump in between Will Reed and who's the 10 they brought in the summer? Sorry,
Lloyd Evans.
Lloyd Evans. They're still jumping between the two of them. And I don't know. You look at the other 10s in the league. Would you say they're on par with the other 10s in the league? I don't know. Obviously, I don't want to bash anybody because I don't know what they're doing at the moment. But the other thing which I think is slightly lacking, which I know whatever team I've had is a direct centre who can just give you gain line. And obviously, and Aaron Owen, great player, great rugby player. I've heard loads of really good reports of him. I've never played with him personally, but a lot of the coaches I've spoken to have said how good of a player he's going to be.
Yeah.
But is he a ball carrying 12 for you?
No.
He's not going to get you over the gain line. He's more of a playmaking 12, isn't he? What we haven't got is that big physical 13. Like we need like a Jamie Roberts stuff. I know he
a Manu
Tuilagi, a Tuilagi, a Foxy. We need someone who can truck it up and get over the gain line. I mean, we have got Harry Wilson, the centre that we brought in from Oz. He has the attributes, but he is pretty raw. Yeah. It's fair to say. I mean, I thought he played all right against Cardiff when he came on for Joe Westwood, but there was a few errors in this game.
Could become that. If Joe Westwood keeps developing the way he is, he's a big bloke, Joe.
And a Harry Ackerman as well.
Yeah. So I mean, they have got them, but again, they're still youngsters at the moment. They're still learning.
Yeah. The issue, and you're right, John. Rugby's a relatively simple game if you boil it down. You can play it simply and it's effective like that. I just don't know what it is we're doing, which is my issue with it.
The hardest thing is to for your backline to work well, you have to play off front foot ball.
Yes, absolutely.
And when you watch the Dragons, are they winning the game line? They've got some unbelievable ball carriers in the back row, and the footwork that the back row do. But when it comes down to it, it's do we keep winning the game line? And a lot of the time we don't. Some of the best rugby they've played this year has been when they've just gone through phases and phases and won the game line, just want to meet there every single time.
Yeah. We aren't winning collisions enough.
No.
Which doesn't make much sense to me when you consider who we have available to us in our back row.
You can't keep relying on your back row all the time.
No, absolutely not. And that's the challenge, isn't it? We are relying too much on it. Tane was the biggest yards maker again yesterday. I think
he carried well, Tane. He carried really well. Do you know what I think our best rugby has been this season? Those last 3 minutes against the Ospreys. That's when we were trucked it up and going through the phases and getting over the gain line. That's when Harry Wilson came off the bench. And he goes right over the gain line. He goes straight up to the 22 and Duke Yando crashed over. 3 minutes of our best play that we've done this season. So
look how much patience and composure they had in that game. It was like a different team.
It was very un-Dragons-like, wasn't it? That's the thing, yeah.
But the thing is, fans will say they don't like that kind of rugby. But if if we just holding on to the ball and grinding out yards and winning games, I don't think anyone cares.
No.
So that's the point I've made to you, Gav. I know you don't like the Ospreys and their style of play, but I wish we had Osprey style of play where we had a really big forward pack and we go over the gain line and our set piece game is strong.
They play sensible rugby for their players, like, you know, it's And I think that's the difference with us and the other regions. All the other regions, you can see what they're trying to do. There's a discernible style of play.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
And I don't know what we're trying to do. You know, kind of Cardiff Scarlets, they're trying to play something a bit more expansive. Ospreys shover up their jumper. It's all, you know, it's working from well-ish.
There's no identity with the Dragons, is there? Something
No.
again. As you know, John, you listen to the pod, you'll know that we've talked about there is a lack of identity in this Scarlets Dragons team. We know what the Scarlets play.
but it's interesting as well. Like when we had Dion and he talked about a Gwent style of rugby, well, the Ebbw Vale team at the minute is playing Gwent rugby for me. It's ballsy, it's up front, it's hard, it's not pretty, it doesn't matter. It's taking inches. And as John said, it's just, you know, strangulating defence. And, you know, that's Gwent rugby. That's where I grew up watching my dad play. You know, it's not designed to be pretty.
Yeah, Gwent rugby. We played Carmarthen a couple of weeks ago and scored 6 driving line-out tries.
Wow.
It won us the game. It's not pretty. But every time we entered that 22, you know what's coming. The defence knows what's coming, but go on, you
can't stop it. Yeah, absolutely.
It's only what Glasgow do in the URC. That's what Glasgow do. It's very simple. It's very effective. You can't stop it.
Exeter did it very well a few years ago.
Won a European Cup.
When they entered the 22, you knew what was coming. They were going into their pick and go game. Every time they entered their pick and go game, they scored a try.
Because it's really hard to defend. You can't defend pick and goes. I've had a bunch of 11-year-olds doing pick and goes today. Like, you know, it's not what they want to be doing. They want to be about. But it's hard to defend pick and goes.
But yeah, like I say, it's not pretty rugby, but is it winning rugby?
I would love to see the Dragons do that, but we haven't got the pack. We haven't got the front five to do it, unfortunately. But I would kill to see that. I really would. It wouldn't bother me the style of play, but I just want us to win. That's all I want. I just want to see the Dragons win some games. Is it too much to ask? It is at the moment, unfortunately. It's been for a long time, but
then again, you say they've got an identity, but they've now got a new backs coach again, as in Obi. What's his name?
Yes, Matt O'Brien. Yeah.
You can't create an identity overnight. So how many times have we changed coaches in the last few seasons at the Dragons? Wayne Pivac only won the league in his 3rd season.
Yeah.
It took him 3 seasons to build his identity of how he wanted to play at the Scarlets. And it was only in that season when he clicked, the 3rd season. So it must be hard for the players to say, when you say you haven't got an identity, but if you've got a different coach coming in every time trying to tell you something different, who's trying to change things, every coach will have a different way they want to play. So it'll just be interesting to see if there is some stability. And I thought with Dye, we were starting to get some stability. He'd had a couple of years. You could kind of see a little bit of a pattern coming. I'm wondering if they're going to give a little bit of stability now to the team.
That's a fair point, because people forget that Wayne Pivac really struggled in those first 2 years, and we all remember seeing #PivacOut trending, didn't we, on social media. I'm just getting, so Fia TT is our new interim head coach, as you know, John. I'm getting very reluctant head coach vibes from him. I'm getting, I didn't come here to do this. I came here for my mate Dye. I came here to coach defence. I don't want to be in this position. That's the vibes I'm getting from him.
I did enjoy his interview after the Cardiff Blues game yesterday. Wherever they asked him, he didn't want to talk about what they asked. He just went into what he wanted to say. It was very. It was. What do you think of this player? I'm not going to talk about that player. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about.
Gav, what do you think? Are you getting sort of reluctant? I didn't come here to do this vibe from Tia.
Yeah, he really doesn't want to be doing the job. You know, it's.
You don't know.
You know, which I understand. But the thing is, if that's the case, then find someone. This is, without wanting to sound like a broken record, you've got to have a plan, and we don't
have a plan. I was waiting for that.
But it's a business, right? It's a business, and if you've got a chip shop and you've got one bloke who fries the fish and the chips, and everybody likes him, and then you replace him, you've got to have somebody who can do the same job coming in, and we don't.
No.
We've got rid of the bloke who was doing the job, or it's not good enough. Well, who's better than me? I don't bloody know. That's what it feels like at the minute. It feels a bit rudderless.
Yes, we have to keep the faith. We're told to keep the faith. It's just really difficult, isn't it? Like I said, we're bottom of the league now, so let's hope Tier can turn things around. But it's on everyone, isn't it? It's on the coaches, it's on the players. It's tough times, tough times. Right there, Joe. Final question, because I'm conscious of time. I've taken an hour out your evening to join us, so it's a big question there. So we have to think hard about it. Okay, going to put you on the spot now. Christmas is on the way, as you know. I want to watch your favorite Christmas movie.
I would probably say my favorite one watching with my kids is Arthur Christmas. So that's my go-to one.
At least you didn't say Elf.
What's wrong with Elf? I like Elf. What's
Oh,
wrong with that?
Oh,
Hey, that's one of Will Ferrell's best movies, that is Elf. I would have a bad word said about it.
I hate it with a passion.
Why?
I don't like Will Ferrell. I don't like Zoe Deschanel. And it's a film that based on both their personalities, which...
Okay, Gav, favorite Christmas movie then?
Muppet Christmas Carol. Oh.
Yeah, but which one? There's so many. Muppets Christmas Carol?
Muppet Christmas Carol, yeah. It's the only one. All others are wrong.
One of Michael Caine's best movies, that is. He's brilliant.
Easily.
Isn't he? Yeah. Brilliant. Okay,
what
John?
about you though, Jamie? You can't escape.
Oh, okay, fine. Mine is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Good shout as well.
I've seen it a million times, and yet every time I watch it, I still laugh. And Randy Quaid as Eddie just steals the show. And I love Chevy Chase films as well, but that's my go-to, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Absolutely love that film. Okay, John, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for listening to us as well. It really is appreciated. It's really nice when you said you listened to us. A bit surreal, but no, thank you so much for joining us.
Like I said, it's good to actually hear people talking about the Dragons and with so much passion. And obviously, I'm a supporter now. Obviously, I can't play any longer, but I am a supporter of the Dragons. I do follow them as and when I can. I'm still playing in the region, still enjoy it, still love my rugby. And I just want the Dragons to do well, and I think they will. I think they've got the players that they can. I'm just really hopeful that they do start getting some results, especially at home. I hope they get a couple of results at home and start getting confidence. Like I said, once you get a bit of confidence, I think it could be the turning point for the Dragons this year. And like I say, I think they've got the play. I think they've got the playing ability. It's just they need to just turn them into points. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely well said. Brilliant. You've been a terrific guest, John. Been a pleasure having you on. Best of luck for the rest of the season. I know you're out at the moment with a shoulder injury. Is that right? You're not playing, but
yeah, unfortunately, dislocated my shoulder a couple of weeks ago. So if they did call me up on Boxing Day, unfortunately, I would have to turn them down.
Oh no, but no, speedy recovery with that. And best of luck to Ebbw Vale. They're going well. Good on them.
Cheers, cheers both, and have a good Christmas.
And you. Take care, John. Cheers, mate. There we go then, Jon Evans. Really nice guy. Good chat.
Yeah, and plays for the best team in Gwent.
Yeah, I knew you was right in your element then. As soon as we started talking about Ebbw Vale, I saw your eyes lighted up. You enjoyed that, didn't you?
I did,
enjoyed that. Yeah, I bet you did.
But and it's interesting. It's really not pretty rugby they're playing, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, I don't care. I want Dragons to play ugly rugby and win. I don't care about the style of rugby. I really, really don't. It's good to see Ebbw doing well, actually. It really is. Fair play to him. Really good player, Jon Evans. Very highly respected by both Dragons and Scarlets fans.
Weird that we never got a Welsh cap, and I know, there were good Welsh players around, good Welsh scrum-halves.
Yeah.
But, Dane Blacker got a cap, didn't he, and...
Do you know what? That's exactly what my Scar... I'm not going to say what he said, but yeah, he did sort of compare, say Dane Blacker got...
I'm not anti-Dane. I think Dane's a good player, but...
Oh, hang on. Did he actually get a cap, though? Because he was on the bench, wasn't he, for George? I don't think he actually came on.
Oh, no, he didn't come on, did he?
No, he didn't get a cap, no. But Jon Evans definitely should have had a cap, and I think a lot of people will agree he should have had Wales caps. He played age grade rugby, of course, but he definitely should have had Wales caps. And he listens to the pod, and I think that's great. So thank you, John. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate
Celebrity fan.
Excellent. Yeah, our first one. Fair play. Just a reminder that we are available wherever you get your podcasts from, and we're on the Wrap YouTube channel. And if you can, please leave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as it helps to grow the pod and it helps the algorithm and helps other Dragon supporters to find us. Okay, it's now time for Gwent Rugby Roundup. Gav, what's the latest?
Well, quite a lot to get through. Clearly, the region's been quite badly hit by Storm Bert last week. Cross Crees, New Tredegar, number of clubs really kind of badly hit by the weather. But rugby has taken place. So if we start in the SRC, Cardiff 27, Pontypool 18, Pontypool in 5th. Cardiff are top of the league, so, tough ask. Newport 31, Carmarthen Quins 20, taking Newport to 3rd. And then Swansea 20, Ebbw Vale 40.
Good win.
They're taking us up to 2nd place. Us, yeah, no, I'll say us, I don't care. So, yeah, and it's Cardiff and Ebbw Vale are kind of 8 points clear at the top. Into the Prem, where Bonamine 26, Newbridge 19, leaving Newbridge in 4th. And Cross Keys are currently in 10th. Their game with Llangennech was postponed because Pandy Park is largely underwater.
Yeah, there is a GoFundMe page for them, and I think for Newport High School boys. If you're able to, please donate some money if you can, just a couple of quid, because it really does help these clubs. They've been hit very hard by Storm Bert, haven't they?
And if you don't know Cross Keys, the pitch is right next to the river. It's when it floods, it's a problem.
Yep.
So yeah, if you can give them, they're a good community club. And then into the championship, your boys Anistee sadly lost 31-13 away to Aberdeen, leaving them in 9th. Bryn Mawr, who've had a tricky start, but they won 16-13 against Cambrian Welfare at home, leaving them in 11th. Penalta, who are the other end of the table, in 3rd, they won 45-12 against Treorchy. Talawine, who are in 6th, went away to Rumney, Cardiff, and lost 42-17. And Bedwas, who are 2nd, they won 52-31 away to St. Peter's, which is a hell of a game. Into Division 1 East, Abergavenny 3, Dowler 17. Abertillery, Blaenau Gwent 33, Nelson 21. Bedlinog 13, Blaenavon 14. Good win for Blaenavon there. Newport High School All Boys 23, Monmouth 23. And St. Gened 39, Pontypool United 14. So mixed bag of results for the Gwent team in Division 1 East, but largely going well there. Into Division 2 East, Caldicott 19, Blackwood 20. Croesy versus Blaenau was postponed, as was Gondified versus Abercarn. Risca 12, Cwmbran 24. And Ask 40, Pill Harriers 27. Into Division 3 East, Chepstow 29, Fleur-de-Lis 22, Machen 25, Killeen 17, Nantyglow versus Newport Saracens was postponed. To be fair, the pitch at Nantyglow is unplayable in the middle of summer, so, I can't imagine it was doing well after Storm Bert. Oakdale 15 versus Abertusso, Tussock 22, and Rumney 22, can't read my own writing, New Panteg 14. Into Division 4 East, where Bedwelty versus Crickhowell was postponed. Betos 7, Llanilla 31. Gwynafyd 68, Forgeside 0. Not a good trip up to Mid Wales for Forgeside there. Honton Ffraeth 25, Crumlin 12. And RTB Ebbw Vale 11, Whitehead 0. Into Division 5 East, Abersychan 16, Blackwood Stars 22, Beaufort 3, Derry 36, Hollybush 17, Hartridge 17, and Tredegar Ironsides against Hafod Aranis was also postponed. And Division 6A, both games were postponed. Brynifel versus Cumcawn United and Old Tolerians versus Girlin. In Division 6B, St. Julian's High School All Boys 48, Whitchurch 10. If we then go into the Dragons Athletic League, so Monmouth Druids beat Newport High School Old Boy Expendables 17-14. I love second team names, great. And then Anistee Rats 22, Gwynafyd Athletic 12, I'm loving those names. We've got some local teams around us. Helenley, they're quite close to an old mental hospital. So
Yeah.
Helenley's nickname are the Loonies. And and Spike Milligan was a life president at Rye Rugby Club, so they're called the Goons.
Ah, that's great. Yeah, love that.
So,
Fair play.
and then as John was suggesting, Coleg Gwent are back up into the top flight of Welsh schools rugby after an unbeaten season in the B division. They beat Newport High School 32-13 in the promotion final, so they'll be up now with the big boys of Welsh schools rugby, which kind of impressive, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because they're kind of Glantaff and the big rugby producing schools are in that top level, so it's impressive. And our friends at the Dragons All Stars also have some updates for us as well. So they've said, "Hi guys, less said about yesterday's result, the better." But on a more positive note, the undefeated Dragons All-Stars of 2024 returned to action in the final game of 24 away to Melksham on the 7th of December. Is that Wiltshire? I want to say it's Wiltshire, Melksham.
Maybe,
It,
yeah.
It's also a special day for our one and only All-Stars hooker, Christian Hyde, who turns the big 5-0.
Yeah, I know
Playing
Christian
rugby
well.
Playing rugby at 50, Christian, that's foolish.
Yes, he's very involved with the supporters club. He does a good job, Christian. So, yeah, good stuff. Is that it, Gav? That's it, yeah?
Yes, that is all the Gwent rugby for this week.
Excellent. Okay. Just a reminder, this podcast is brought to you in association with Riverside Sports Bar, the place to be for great food and live sport in Newport. They're located next to the river in Clarence Place. And for more information, you can find them on Facebook or on their website. Right. We will have to talk about it. We don't have to talk about it for long because we are pushed for time, but we are going to have to talk about yesterday. Another defeat to Cardiff. Cardiff 31, Dragons 23. So I watched the game in the pub before I went to the gig, and these were the bullet points that I wrote down during the game. So for the majority of the first half, Dragons were the better team.
Yeah, agreed.
And the only reason Cardiff went ahead 79 at the break was because they were clinical and we wasn't.
Yeah.
As simple as that. They took their chances, we didn't. Although we created a lot of opportunities, our skill set let us down. Far too many wayward passes and knock-ons. We've seen that far too many times, Gav, haven't we?
Yeah.
And it's getting really frustrating when you keep saying the same thing week in, week out. Angus O'Brien missing two straightforward penalties, a goal which should have been scored. That was really frustrating. Goal kicking seems to be an issue. We've seen it with Lloyd Evans, and I really don't want to see it with Angus. We're big fans of Angus on this pod, but please come on now, Angus. You got to score those, mate. Those are pretty straightforward.
His technique was he was getting a lot of air, but not a lot of accuracy, weren't they?
Yeah, I noticed that. The game was won in the first 20 minutes of the second half. I think that's when Cardiff really did kill the game in that. We don't start second halves very well. I don't know if that's something you've noticed as well as me.
We come out cold, don't we? And
yes.
And that was where the Sharks game was lost. It was where the Lions game was lost.
Yeah, it's becoming a regular theme. We're not starting the second half well, and it's cost us again. All of Cardiff's tries were soft and easy. Don't get me wrong, I'm not taking anything away from Cardiff. I thought Callum Sheedy's try was well worked. Josh Adams showing us, he looks back to the form. It was nice to see him back, not for Cardiff playing against us, but it is nice from a Welsh rugby point of view, see Josh Adams back. But I still maintain all Cardiff tries were soft and easy and could have been preventable. And that's disappointing.
Yeah, we were poor in defence, I thought.
Yeah, disappointing when defence has been one of the positives, I think. But I thought all their tries were pretty soft. I don't know what the answer is at 10, but I know it's not Lloyd Evans.
No.
And it's really interesting that John agrees that 10 is a problem position.
Yeah. Where do you put it? Do you put Angus there? Because I'm not convinced he's a 10.
So
do we try Kai Evans there?
My proposal is to put Angus at 10 and to put Lloyd Evans at 15. because Lloyd Evans did play a lot of his rugby at Gloucester the past couple of seasons at 15. And I know he was brought in as a 10,
Well,
but
he's
I
come
think
here to be a 10, hasn't he?
he has. But I think the way forward is, if it was me, if I was tier, I would be putting Angus at 10 and I would be putting Lloyd Evans at 15. That's just my opinion. I wouldn't put Kai Evans at 10 because he's not a 10. Also interesting that Kai Evans was playing for Newport FC against Carmarthen last weekend rather. So
Yeah,
I
that
thought
was to bring him back from injury, I imagine, wasn't it?
it was, yeah. But that's why we do him personally. I don't want to be all doom and gloom about it, even though it was another dispiriting result. I'll focus on the positives. Morgan Lloyd, it came on after 53 minutes and he caused Cardiff all sorts of problems. I thought he was excellent.
That
Really quick service, really.
outrageous dummy.
Oh, he sold Azarati a dummy and he fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And it was a really well taken try. He also, did you see that line break?
Yes.
Where it took like 4 or 5 Cardiff defenders to eventually bring him down. Terrific. He just gave us energy and zip. And I'm not taking anything away from Rodri because I thought Rodri was actually good.
Yeah, no, Roger had a good game.
But I'm really pleased with Morgan Lloyd. I think he's developing really well. If you speak to Pontypool supporters, they'll tell you how excellent he's been for them as well. And Dane Blacker want to be looking over his shoulder, I think. You want to be looking over his shoulder because Morgan Lloyd is making a very strong case now to be Rodri's backup.
I'd say
in the future.
so. Yeah.
So,
But the thing is, like, Rodri didn't have a bad game because I would say
no,
Rodri was probably one of the 3 best players we had on the field. In the first 50 minutes. Tane had another great game.
He did. He carried really well. Well, that was my next point. Tane Basham, I thought was really, really good. Carried incredibly well. Nice to see Dimitri R hit back.
Yeah.
Because he is one of the few players that can scrummage for us, and it was nice to see him back. And I guess the other positive is, I know it's a dispiriting result, but a 31-9, I honestly thought it was going to be another repeat of what happened on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
I thought, here we go again. This is same old Dragons. Go into our shells, heads down, zero confidence. We're going to get battered again. To be fair, we did fight back pretty well. It wasn't enough, but we could have easily crumbled at 31-9 down, and we didn't. And I think we do owe a little bit of credit.
I don't know how much of the commentary you heard in the pub, but
zero. It was the jukebox was playing. I'm afraid.
All right.
Yeah.
So Alex Cuthbert, after we come within 9 points, said, "I can see Dragons sneaking another one here," and it did look like that.
Yeah, I think we left ourselves far too much to do. Like I said, I think the first 20 minutes of the second half, that's what really killed us.
Oh, yeah. It was 2 self-tries, weren't they? Or, 2 self-tries.
Yeah, those missed points, if Angus kicks those, we could have had a bonus point for it. But it's really frustrating that in the first half, I think we did have Cardiff on the ropes. I thought we were playing really good rugby. It was just those opportunities were not sticking. Like I said, too many wayward passes, too many knock-ons.
Trying to overplay it.
Overplaying. But the point is, Gav, we see this week in, week out. This is nothing new. It's the same old story, isn't it? That's
it's like Jon said, when you're in the 22, you've got to take points.
Yeah. And imagine if we had actually finished off those opportunities that we created. It would have been a very interesting. It would have been a very interesting game. I would like to see how Cardiff would have responded. Because there was that one that Harry Wilson dropped that pass, didn't he? From Angus. I don't know whether it was the pass to blame or whether Wilson just sort of overrun it slightly and then knocked on.
I don't think it was a great pass, but I did think he overrun it as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But if that sticks and Harry Wilson goes over, I think we need to stick with Harry Wilson as well. I want to see him get some game time because if Westwood is out, we need to know if Harry is up to it. We've brought him over all the way from Australia. I don't think he's come cheap. I'm not saying he's going to be expensive either, but we brought this guy over. Let's see. Let's give him an opportunity now. Let's see what he can do.
And we was having this chat now, group chat, just on WhatsApp. But other than Shane Lewis Hughes, none of the signings have really done anything yet or barely played.
Yeah, that's true. Did you see David Buttress on Twitter last night?
I did. He was very honest. But
he was incredibly honest, wasn't he? One of the tweets that caught my eye, one of many actually, but he said, well, somebody mentioned about recruitment. Basically, we all say that recruitment has been very disappointing. David replied, I have been disappointed with the summer's work, to be frank. We can and must do much better. We have owners willing to put more money in. We have to get a structure right off the field and make the most of that investment. What he's saying there, Gav, essentially is, I've been disappointed with the recruitment.
Yeah.
But then the club was trumpeting the recruitment. When we signed these players, they made a big song and dance about it. You know, all these big men and, you know, whereas the reality is, so far,
Cummings has
apart
barely
from Shane,
played.
well, he's picking up knocks. He's not even playing. Funaki,
Funaki's not played.
when's he coming back? I mean, he's had a knee op. We signed him. He was crocked. He had a knee op, fair enough. Now he's had an infection in his knee. Tia said he's not going to rush him back. Understandably so. He's going on medical advice. When are we going to see him? You know, Lloyd Evans, I'm not convinced by. I'm just not.
No.
I think Ollie Bowes is one for the future.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
okay
not
with
bad.
that. And I think Shane Lewis has been terrific. But on the whole, when you compare our recruitment to Cardiff and Scarlets recruitment, especially, it's not been good enough, is it? And
No.
even the owner of the club is admitted we got it wrong on recruitment, Gav.
Yeah. And then, you know, tie that in with the whole stuff you were saying about coaches and stuff. They don't have a plan.
He said it's a good window to be looking for a head coach. It would have been a bigger issue if it had drifted. And he also confirmed that they are starting the process now of looking for a new head coach. So do you feel a little bit more reassured by that, Gav?
No, really.
We don't know.
No, because it's a case of we did this thing. We knew we might have to do this thing, but we didn't have a plan in the first place. Because if Di had this target, which I've no reason to doubt that was the case, then surely you've got a plan just in case it doesn't come off.
Yeah. It just feels more and more like a knee-jerk reaction, doesn't it? And I do agree with John. I think Di probably would have gone at the end of the season. This was his last year in his contract. But to get rid of him now at this stage, I still don't see the benefit. And now we've got a very reluctant head coach who has made it all but clear that he didn't come here to do this. You know, he came here for his mate Di. He came here to coach defence. He's left his wife and family in New Zealand. He doesn't want to do this, Gav, does he? He doesn't want to be a head coach.
No, but like if we had like, you know, I don't know, we had someone else lined up and they've said, right, so Di's gone, we're bringing in X. Yeah, fine, because you've got a plan. I've talked about this before, it's the Maurizio Pochettino thing. Yeah. It's that Nigel Adkins at Southampton, they had Maurizio Pochettino lined up, he came in, turned the club around. You know, if you're going to do that, do that. Have somebody who's going to make a difference. Or a bloke who's like, I don't want to be doing this. My kid's the other side of the world.
So the league table now is pretty grim reading. So we're rock bottom. We're 16th. We're behind Zebra now. So we're on 7 points. Zebra on 11. Ospreys on 11. They've got a lot of injuries, to be fair, the Ospreys. When they get those players back, they're going to be better and they're going to be climbing the table. And then you've got Stormers in 13th. Benetton are having a disappointing season, didn't they? 7 games, only 2 wins. So that's very unlike Benetton. But Gav, the league table doesn't lie. We are bottom now.
No.
Do you
Cardiff for 4th?
Yeah. Which is even grimmer, isn't it? Do you have any faith or confidence the Dragons can turn this around and get off the bottom? Or do you think this is it now?
Oh, we could probably finish 15th.
But do you think Zebra are better than us now? Because they have beaten Munster and Ospreys.
Oh,
they seem to be improving, don't they?
They're a basket case, though. I don't know if you saw them against Cardiff. They were
but
terrible.
People say the same about us, my Gav. People say we're a basket case team as well.
Oh, God, yeah, but I don't think we beat Munster. But but for a half against Cardiff, they barely looked like a rugby team.
Oh, that first half against Cardiff, yeah. And yet they pushed them closer than we did. That's the ironic thing, isn't it? You know, and in the first half, we were very good.
Yeah.
Discipline let us down, didn't take our opportunities. Suddenly, we're 17-9 down at half time. I'm watching thinking, how has this happened? How?
But yeah, you know, I don't think finishing above Zebra is taken for granted. You know, what I would say is we could do it, but we could just as easily finish stone cold bottom.
I'm finding it very hard to see where the wins are coming from. And I say this every season, I know, but even more so now, I'm finding it a struggle.
I don't know who we're beating. Ospreys, maybe.
Well, not in Swansea. We never beat them in Swansea, but it's a
don't-
difficult one, isn't it? I mean, we got Zebra, but we have to go to Zebra and play them. And don't forget, we haven't beaten Zebra in Parma since 2019.
And they've beaten Munster this season already.
And Ospreys, yeah.
Yeah.
It's I'm sorry, I don't want this to be a doom and gloom pod, but I think like a lot of supporters now, I just I'm struggling. I'm really struggling with it.
But you know, kind of the issue is, where's the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, I know.
You know, that's the issue, isn't it? There's no light at the end of the tunnel. That's why it's hard to be positive, because you go, oh, we've got this to look forward to, that, you know, they need to sort out. They need to find a new coach.
The 7 games in, like I said, we lost our head coach. We parted with him. We got an interim head coach who doesn't want to do it, and we've got our owners admitting the recruitment was bad.
Yeah, it's
not a
look,
good start to the
No,
season.
no.
The optics are not good at all. But
No.
that's where we are. We are where we are. Well, we haven't got too long to mope. Dragons got to lick their wounds pretty quickly because they got a 6-day turnaround now.
Yeah.
So we return to action on Friday night. It's the start of our European rugby campaign against top 14 side Montpellier. Kick-off 8 o'clock. Live coverage is on S4C, so it's on free to air, which is good news if you haven't got. Well, I don't even know if it's on Premier Sport, because Premier Sports have got the European rugby this season.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's on there, so it looks like S4C have got the sole rights for this game. How are we going to approach this game then, Gav, on Friday? Because I think we are going to have to make changes, aren't we, with a 6-day turnaround. So what would you be doing? Would you be making mass changes? Do we go all out for this European Cup?
I would be going all out to win this.
You would?
I would get the best 23 I could manage in terms of fitness and do everything I could to win the game.
With a 6-day turnaround, though. That's what we got to bear in mind. It's a 6-day turnaround.
I do appreciate that, but you know, it's winnable. Montpellier aren't necessarily going to bring their A game to this.
Yeah, you'd think they wouldn't bring their full strength squad down here for you. When a lot of French clubs, it's wrong to say they don't take it seriously, because I think if you look at the last few finals, French teams have won it. I don't know the stats, but you know, French clubs do win this competition, especially in recent years. But in the early stages, they don't tend to be as bothered. It's only in the later stage of the competition, isn't it, where they start taking it a bit more seriously.
It's like that internet meme, isn't it? Like, you know, kind of French teams and this like little fluffy dog, and then jacked dog with loads of muscles in the later stages. That's what French rugby teams are in European competitions. So this is a eminently potentially winnable game.
Yeah. So you seem confident that we can get back on track with this European campaign?
Confident's the wrong word, Jamie, but I think we have to make the effort.
This is a really big month for the Dragons now, even more so in the context, because obviously Montpellier, Friday night, we got Newcastle. That's not going to be easy. They've improved. They beat Saracens the other night. Steve Diamond looks to be turning them around now. They're more competitive. We got that Boxing Day game against Cardiff, as we know. Then we got to go away to the Scarlets. And then we got a home game against Po. There are no easy fixtures in this block, is there?
Nope.
No easy fixtures at all. Yeah, it's difficult to see where the wins are coming from. But hopefully, I think if we do beat Montpellier, I think that puts us in a good position in this competition. I would like us to have a run in Europe. I think that'd be good. I think that'd be good for our confidence. You've seen Dragons teams in the past where we struggled in the league under Lynn Jones. And then remember, we had a good run in Europe, didn't we? And that was a nice distraction from the struggles in the league. Whether that can happen again, I don't know. It's a tough pool we're in. But yeah, as I said, there's no time to mope.
No.
And everyone now needs to pull together, coaches, players, because as you know, Gav, there's a lot of discourse out there at the moment about cutting the team. It feels like there's a lot of lobbying going on from certain ex-players and certain journalists in the Welsh rugby media about cutting the team. And when Dragons players they are, like they do, we are not helping ourselves. We are not changing the narrative. We're making it very easy for people to say, cut the Dragons.
And the RFU as well, the WRU, saying, oh, we're going to keep 4. But say next year, budget's going up to 5.25 or whatever it is, 5.5. Or it could go up to 7.
It'll never go up to that with 3.
But,
It won't.
But if we get rid of one of the others, we can make it 7. You know, that is surely part of the thinking, isn't it? And
I'm not going to get into this now because I don't think we got time. We've run it out. Maybe we'll talk about it another time. But the point I'm making is, I've not seen this amount of lobbying then and discourse around cutting the team as I have. It's really ramped up, and this conversation has been on social media for a number of years. You get the same people shouting about it, cutting the team, but it's people talking into the void. They're not relevant. But when you got certain ex-players come
Sam Warburton,
Jonathan Davis, Alex Cuthbert was hinted about it on social media. And then you get journalists in the Welsh rugby media saying, yeah, I agree. We need to cut to 3. If Dragons keep on playing the way they are not changing the narrative, and they are not helping themselves, and they are finding themselves an easy target. So they are playing for their futures. That's the thinking. We are playing for our futures here. We need to prove people that we deserve to have a pro team in Newport Gwent. That's the point I make here, Gav. They're not doing enough to change the narrative.
No, I totally agree with you. And like the thing, I don't think, that conversation isn't going to happen. I don't think they are going to cut the side, but it makes it a lot easier for people who are getting paid to say it in the press to say it.
Yeah,
because everybody's wringing their hands about Welsh rugby.
Yeah,
which I get it, because I want Welsh rugby to be better as well. But killing us isn't going to make it better either. But
God, there's some people who will. It's the magic bullet, apparently. Kill a team and everything's going to be great. But I remain unconvinced. But that's an argument for another day anyway. I think we'll wrap it up there. We've been through a lot.
We have.
Yeah, it's been a busy pod. Let's just hope the Dragons now can get back on horse and get a win, because I think that would give us a little bit of a boost. I think we really do.
I think we've been through a lot. Is pretty much the watchword of being a Dragons fan anyway, isn't it?
They make us suffer, don't they?
Yeah,
they really do. The other fans of the other regions, they haven't got a clue how tough it is. They've had, tough times. Don't get me wrong, but nothing compared to what we've been through.
I go watch Hastings United sometimes, and they've not won a game in 9 games either, and lost 3-0 at home yesterday. And then I came home to watch the Dragons games. But why do I watch sports?
It makes you hate rugby, doesn't it?
It makes me hate all sports.
I know it's tough being a fan of this club. It really is tough. They make us suffer, but maybe one day they won't. No. I don't know when that'll be, but maybe one day they won't. Or will they always be like this? Who knows? Gavin, thank you so much for joining me, and thanks again to our guest Jon Evans. He's a great guest, wasn't he? And thank you to our sponsors, Riverside Sports Bar. We'll be back very soon, but until then, take care and goodbye.
That was the Dragon's Lair in association with the Riverside Sports Bar Newport, an American-style bar with a proper Welsh feel.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.